Coming to you live with the insight you need from the financials and political capitals of the world to the heart of innovation. This is Opportunities to Consider with your host, author, speaker, and corporate strategist, Hunter Gaylor.
Welcome to another Markets Hunter, the podcast where we delve into the world of business, markets, and politics. I am your host, Hunter Gaylor, and today we are thrilled to have Joe Salvani, a former analyst with Goldman Sachs, as our guest in studio today. With decades of experience in the financial industry, Joe has a wealth of knowledge and insight into the latest market trends and developments. In this episode, Joe's going to be sharing his take on the various companies and recent new developments that are impacting the business world and certain companies, from the latest IPOs to M&As. We'll be discussing it all. So tune in and get ready for a thought-provoking conversation that will give you a deeper understanding of the ever-evolving world of finance and what it means for you. And don't forget to follow, like, and share the podcast and stay up to date on the latest episodes. And for always, thanks for joining Market Hunters. We'll be right back after this brief message.
We're no strangers to change. We've seen the winds blow, fire rage, and plans change. We know what it means to face a challenge and rise above. We are the game changers, the original trailblazers. We are the up-before-dawners and the extra-milers, molded and crafted to be overcomers. So when you need to navigate the markets, forge new paths, and grow to the next level, you turn to Market Hunter, the only trusted brand name on the street. Your message, your mission. That's the American way. That's Market Hunter. So what are you waiting for? You're a CEO. When you speak, investors listen.
Welcome back, everyone, to Markets Hunter podcast. Before the break, I was speaking about our upcoming guest that we have, Joe Salvani, former analyst with Goldman Sachs. Joe has been sharing his insights on various companies and recent news and developments. We spoke with him before. But I want to kind of pick up where we left off and continue our conversation with regards to Petvivo. And Joe, given your background and your involvement with the company, there's been some news going on in the equestrian space, which obviously Petvivo, for our listeners, know are very heavily involved. And that's this HISA Rule 42222. That's 42222. And there's a clarification, and it talks about an advance in the anti-doping and medication control. That's the ADMC program. And that's actually effective as of March 27th of this month. And there's a lot of clarification on this rule. So for our listeners that might not really know what this means, what does this mean in relation to the industry and Petvivo in specifically?
Okay, so very specifically, the Racing Association, which this nomenclature is, basically has put out that in general, prior to this coming out, that if you injected anything into the joints of a horse, an equine, that they had to wait 14 days before they raced. So that included things like the polyacrylamide gels, which are these plastic type gels that they put in to act as lubricants for horses that were running, that had some sort of lameness or osteoarthritis. Well, the interesting thing about Petvivo's product is that it's organically derived, and what they came out with and said is that anybody that uses polyacrylamide is going to have to wait. The horse is going to have to wait 6 months in order to race, whereas they specifically went out and said that Spring, which is the Petvivo product, which is the natural product, which I'll explain the difference between the two in 2 seconds, is that does not have to wait that. So that's a huge thing. So the polyacrylamide products that were being used with the racehorses averaged about 30 million a year between the two companies. Now, anybody using those products any of the vets using those products are gonna have to tell the owners that if you do this, you can't race the horse. So, but there is an alternative called Spring, which is being marketed by AmerisourceBergen's MWI unit, which is about 15. So far, about 15% of the vets are aware of it. Within about the next month or so, I would say you're probably going to have at least half, and by 2-3 months, all of them. And so what's going to end up happening is that most of these horses are going to be switched over to Spring, because not only is it better so you can race the horse, but it actually is a better product. It's cheaper, and it actually is naturally derived, as I said. But more importantly, it actually allows the horse, without any of the side effects of the polyacrylamides, to do better. So this is a major thing, and I expect to see as the sales of Spring have been taking off because of MWI, they're really going to take another dog leg up, which we're making a joke considering it. We're going to be talking about the use for dogs sometime very soon on this call. So anyway, all I can tell you is that this is a massive event which is going to have a big impact on sales for Petvivo.
So for the average investor out on the street, Joe, that may just be tuning into this particular stock, in order for them to get a leg up on this article before really the market starts seeing the impact of this, because of this 14-day window, does that mean that it's almost an entire market shift to the single product Spring? Is that what you see potentially happening here?
I mean, if you're racing your horse, you're not going to want to wait 6 months. Everything waits 14 days if you do anything to the horse. So obviously, they're going to switch to Spring, especially with MWI calling on them. So I think this is a massive event. And like I said to you, between the two products, we're talking about 30 million a year. Okay. And Spring just started getting marketed by MWI in October. So I actually think that this is a very, very big event. We could add at least 10 million more this year to Spring's sales, and at their margins, that can mean well over close to $1 a share in earnings this year, extra earnings that they wouldn't have had.
Yeah, that is definitely a massive advancement. That is definitely so. This single piece of press is a game changer for the company and the industry as a whole alone. That's incredible. Joe, I know you've been following the performance of the company very, very closely. Can you tell us of any potentially upcoming reports or announcements that you may be aware of, and what that might mean for the potential earnings of the stock?
Well, the company announced that on the 17th, which is St. Patty's Day, which is this Friday, that at a expo for vets dealing with small animals, they're going to be talking about their peer-reviewed study having to deal with dogs, having to deal with using Spring for osteoarthritis. And I doubt highly that this would be accepted to be presented at the seminar if it wasn't going to be very positive. Assuming it's as positive as the data that they've been getting from other sources, you're talking about 65 million dogs, of which about 12 to 14 million have osteoarthritis. And this could easily give MWI the ammo that it needs to convince people to spend the $600 a year to make sure that the dog acts like a puppy again, because that's exactly what this will do. I mean, you're talking about a dog that's lame or has major osteoarthritis. It's either that's an older dog, and they've seen, especially on a lot of the social media things that a lot of the vets have put up, you've seen dogs actually within a week to 2 weeks run around and act like they did several years ago. So, and I think this is a major event, and it's something that's even bigger than what we talked about with the horse. Don't be wrong. Getting access to a $30 million market where the other guys can't compete is a huge thing. But we're talking about something that could easily be a couple $100 million in sales with 90% margins. And that could happen over a couple of years. And so we're still talking about a company that has less than 11 million shares out. So you're talking about a company that easily could be making in 2 years time frame something close to well over $15 a share. And the stock is trading at around $3.
Well, that's definitely, given everything that you've added. And of course, I've had several conversations and have interviewed John and some of the other, executives within the company. So obviously it would seem that it's very undervalued at this point. So it's definitely a buy and long-term hold. And that 3 to 5 year, hold is definitely, with the way everything's going, a definite hold. So I like what you're saying there. Joe, is there anything else that you want with regards to Petvivo from our market update position today that you think people should see, or these two?
The stock broke into the threes. Then you had a little bit of a crisis due to the regional banks problem with Silicon Valley. But the stock has come down. I anticipate the stock to take a major, that's only a small consolidation, come down on minimal volume. I think the stock is ready to move now to a new high very soon. And that's when you add to the fact that this HSSA announcement means they have access to a $30 million market whereby the other guys can't compete. And then you also add the dog study. You're talking about a company that's on the way. And yes, a small amount of equity needs to be added, but the company's been really good at judiciously doing it. And I really anticipate that you're going to see this stock hit new highs very soon.
Well, that's definitely exciting news, and we'll keep a close eye on Petvivo. And for all of our listeners, the stock symbol is PETV. And don't forget to follow us on Twitter, LinkedIn, YouTube. We're now on Spotify, iHeartRadio. We just surpassed over 10,000 listeners on Spotify, which is great. So we'll put all of the descriptions and links to the company, and we'll even put a link to this HISA report for people to go look at. So, Joe, thank you so much for sharing your insight on Petvivo and the recent market developments. We hope to have you back very soon to talk about some of the other companies you're following very closely and getting your input and your experience on interpreting the stock, especially given this very volatile and tumultuous time in the marketplace. So, Joe, thanks so much for joining us today.
Okay, great. Thank you.
Thank you, Joe.
Bye, Hunter. Bye.
Be well. Be well.
Bye.
Well, thank you everyone for joining into another episode of Markets Hunters, where we just give you the real raw as we call it, as we see it. So like I said, don't forget to follow, like, and subscribe to Market Hunters on your preferred podcast platform. And for more insight and discussion on the business and markets and various political things going on. And as always, thank you for tuning in for another episode of Markets Hunter.